For one, I ain't no motherfucking Italian, nigga. I come from a nigga. I'm the seed of a nigga. And a nigga ain't never want to be gangster. He just want to be a man left alone. Italian gangsters, they hurt one another. They blow up the building. They do drive-bys. Niggas ain't never done that to each other. So I ain't no Italian, nigga. So I won't be no motherfucking gangster. Be nigga. Yeah, I learned how to snatch person, but I went across the railroad track and snatched person. I never sold dope in the black community. I never shot a gun at a black man. I never kicked a black man while he was down on the ground while we fight. I always let him get up. I ain't never done wrong in the black community. I ain't never hit a black woman. I ain't never hit a white woman. I ain't never put my hand on a woman. So nigga, how I've done wrong? I just been trying to fit in with a negative culture that taught us to go against our mothers when we was children. Right from wrong.
Yeah.
So,
I'm gonna be honest, right? I'm gonna tell you the real reason. One of the real reasons, ever since I'm gonna say like the '60s, '70s, and on, Negroes felt the need to be gangsters and thugs. I'm gonna keep it 100 with the people. I'm on my Morris shit today. I got my Wasashi sword. I'm with it. Yeah. But anyway, look. The real reason, right, that niggas want to be gangsters is because they was trying to imitate immigrants. Italian immigrants and Sicilian immigrants, to be precise. They wanted to be gangsters because these gangsters was terrorizing black communities way back in the 1920s and 30s and 40s and stuff like that during the Great Depression. So, niggas all of a sudden wanted to be gangsters. Really?
Every hood we go through, all the gangsters around know my whole crew. Nigga, what? Nigga, we hold it down like we supposed to. Nigga, you can front if you wrong, we be poppin'.
When these people start coming off the boats into America, the Italians, Sicilians, and Germans, and all these people, they came to America, came into New York, between the late 1800s, early 1900s.
Why for 300 years they've been coming to this country.
You know, it would be amazing to me that these are the same people that'll tell me where I'm from and that my people came off of boats as slaves from Africa. But where you come from? Anyway, so they, start hopping off the boats and stuff, and they started settling. When they started settling into their slums, so they wasn't living that well when they came to this country. So they started to, they just came here as workers. That's what they was.
Let me tell you something. When America opened the floodgates and let all us Italians in, what do you think they were doing it for? Because they were trying to save us from poverty? No, they did it because they needed us. They needed us to build their cities and dig their subways and to make them richer. The Carnegies and the Rockefellers, they needed worker bees, and there we were. But some of us didn't want to swarm around their hive and lose who we were. We wanted to stay Italian and preserve the things that meant something to us: honor and family and loyalty. And some of us wanted a piece of the action. Now, we weren't educated like the Americans, but we had the balls to take what we wanted. And those other fucks, those other, the J.P. Morgans, they were crooks and killers too, but that was the business, right? The American way.
That's why they were brought here, to be workers, to work in the factories, in the steam yards. That's what they was here for. But they decided they was going to go back to their old ways and start stealing, coming up with gangs and mafias and start terrorizing their own people and other people.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster. Anything I wanted was a phone call away. Free cars, the keys to a dozen hideout flats all over the city. We were treated like movie stars with muscle. We had it all just for the asking. You understand? We were good fellas.
And these mafias started to take over the city. That's what they started to do. Take over. Using crime and intimidation, bootlegging, and doing everything illegal to get a dollar. La Cosa Nostra. These goons was running rampant across America. The children of immigrants started terrible gangs. The Italians, you had the Italian mafias, you had the German mafias, you had the Jewish mafias, you had the Irish mafias, all these gangs, plus your regular American good old white clubs and organizations too. You had a lot of gangs of immigrants, people like Charles Luciano and Meyer Lansky. Some big names and big figures in the criminal world of old America.
What line of work are you in?
Waste management consultant.
Some kids at school said some stuff.
What'd they say?
That you were in the Mafia? Are you in the Mafia?
I'm the motherfucking one who calls the shots.
The children of immigrants who came to this country just decades ago and settled into the boroughs of New York. Italian immigration to America peaked between 1880 and 1920, when over 4 million Italians, primarily from the impoverished rural South and Sicily, arrived seeking economic opportunity. Today, Italian Americans form one of the largest European ancestry groups in the U.S., with a deeply established cultural legacy. The Great Arrival, 1880 through 1914. Prior to 1880, Italian immigration to the U.S. was a trickle of skilled artisans and political exiles. However, mass migration exploded between 1880 and 1914, driven by political turmoil following Italian unification, heavy taxation, agricultural failures, and disease. Millions left to the Mezzogiorno, southern Italy, whatever, right? Okay, so they all came here. 4 million, that's probably a soft number. More, probably put a 1 next to that, or maybe another 4 next to that. Be more precise, you know. But they start pouring into the country. seeking economic stability because our countries and our own people, they're just not treating us right and they're taxing us like crazy. And we need a new home. They came here to America. This great passage they embarked on to come to this great land, these Italians and Sicilians. They settled in the slums of New York, built themselves up from the ground up. It was a tough living. They had no choice but to create these mafias and these organizations for survival, because America was not the promised land. America was not the land of milk and honey that they thought it was. Now they had to steal. These wise guys had to take and pillage and murder so they can survive in this harsh climate called America. Yet the same ports that they came into the country on is the same ports they wound up controlling. How did the Mafia, a criminal organization, have control of the most sensitive areas of our great nation? Now check this out. The Mafia is most famously known for assisting the U.S. government during World War II, not World War I, while the Italians and American mobs were primarily involved in local racketeering and bootlegging during World War I era. The crucial alliance with the Allied forces decades later is a widely documented historical fact. World War II operations, Underworld, after Nazi U-boats sank American supply ships along the East Coast and the French luxury liner SS Normandy burned mysteriously in Manhattan. U.S. naval intelligence feared New York's waterfront had been infiltrated by Axis saboteurs. Desperate to secure the docks, the U.S. Navy and the Officers of Strategic Service, OSS, made a secret agreement with imprisoned Mafia boss Charles Lucky Luciano. That guy. Isn't that something? They had intelligence and maps, ground support, Mafia.
In the 1930s, New York City's waterfront, particularly Manhattan and the New York Harbor, was a bustling hub of maritime activity. Ocean liners, passenger ships, and steamships made their way to and from the port, with onlookers gathering on piers to wave farewell or greet departing and arriving vessels. The crew of the liner, including the SS Reliance, worked tirelessly to ensure the smooth operation of the ship. The captain, overseeing operations, supervised the ship's course and safety. The Manhattan skyline and iconic landmarks, such as the Empire State Building and Chrysler Building, provided a stunning backdrop against the harbor waters. Tugboats, small but powerful vessels, played a crucial role in assisting larger liners in maneuvering through the harbor. Quarantine procedures were essential for preventing the spread of diseases, with liners with suspected illnesses being put under quarantine. Health officials would inspect the ship and passengers, ensuring its safety before continuing its journey up the harbor. Overall, the 1930s waterfront scene in New York City was a lively and captivating sight, with the harbor playing a central role in the city's transportation, trade, and connection to the wider world.
Support. On the ground support, mob contacts helped Allied forces navigate the rough Sicilian terrain, provided interpreters, and even persuaded Italian soldiers to abandon German allies because the U.S. government needed the underworld to help win the war. Collaborations, like collaborations between the United States government and the Italian Mafia. contributions. In exchange for a promise of clemency, Luciano ordered his mob network and labor union contacts to monitor the New York City and New Jersey ports. The Mafia identified enemy agents, provided dockside security, and put a stop to union strikes that could have delayed the war efforts. During the Allied invasion of Sicily, Operation Husky, the U.S. military heavily relied on Mafia's local knowledge to counter Benito Mussolini's fascist regime. Wow. So the government was entangled with their immigrant, criminal mafiosos, huh? And they was owning, running the ports of New York, New Jersey, Boston, Chicago, all the ports. The Mafia was running the ports. And you wonder how drugs got into the community? So, why black people act gangster? Let's get to that. What make black people? Because obviously black folks done took the whole gangster mentality of these immigrant mafias. These folks that came off the boats, right? So what started black folks trying to be gangster? Like what started that?
It's 1923, and America is on the upswing. Well-paid jobs abound as industry thrives and a largely unregulated stock market booms. Then, in August, President Harding dies suddenly from a heart attack. His successor, Calvin Coolidge, carries the torch of small government and big business.
One of the greatest favors that can be bestowed on the American people is economy in government.
Silent Cal famously says, "The chief business of the American people is business." For most Americans, the future is bright. But the country's political, social, and economic institutions strongly favor white citizens over people of color. Nowhere is it worse than for blacks living in the Jim Crow South. Many live and work in tough, segregated conditions. As these rare recordings show, the work songs have changed little since the time of slavery. In South Carolina, they lay the tracks for America's railways. And in Port Norris, New Jersey, they shuck oysters for wealthy diners. Some African-American communities are prospering, like the residents of Greenwood, a suburb of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Here, former slaves were given land after the Civil War, and this rare footage shows the thriving town they built. A remarkable Baptist pastor named Solomon Sir Jones is the pioneering filmmaker. His footage was lost for more than 50 years. Jones captures the bustling life of Greenwood, which could be any American small town. But Tulsa's whites don't like what they see. In May 1921, after a black man is accused of assaulting a white woman, a white mob rampages through the city. For a night and a day, they loot and burn Greenwood. A Fox News crew captures the only surviving footage. It is the bloodiest racial massacre in American history, leaving nearly 300 dead. Behind the violence is a terrifying force, born in the 19th century, but until now, silent. The second wave of the Ku Klux Klan. News photographers capture a Klan march in Tulsa 1 year after the riots. The Klan appeals to white Americans who feel threatened by the fast pace of change in the 20s. Born in the South, the KKK spreads north. Its members promote what they call 100% Americanism, targeting not just blacks, but Catholics, Jews, immigrants. At the height of its power, newsreels capture 40,000 Klansmen and women massing in support of white supremacy on the streets of Washington, D.C. By 1924, its membership reaches a staggering 4 million. The KKK will remain a force of bigotry in this country for generations to come. Racial tensions in the South and bountiful jobs in the North prompt many African Americans to uproot their families. Nearly 1.6 million people choose to move in what becomes known as the Great Migration. It transforms neighborhoods, like New York's Harlem. Black Americans bring their culture and music with them: blues, jazz. Not for the last time, black music is adopted by white America.
Well, to understand that, we will have to go back. We will have to go back to the 1910s and the 1920s. And we have to take it back to the Great Black Migration, where a lot of blacks left the South because of Jim Crow and the attacks that we were facing down south. And we started to migrate up north in something they call the Great Migration, where over 20, 30 million of us decided to leave the reservation and come up north, Midwest, and West. We wound up leaving our ancestral lands and our families, and we packed up and we left. And we settled in the inner cities, Chicago, New York, Philadelphia, New Jersey, all over. All over, we settled in these areas. But we had a problem.
Tell me what you know about Slav life. What the fuck you know? Work all day, but we party all night. Party. Slav life, we survive in the heart.
These people who were also coming in around the same times that we were migrating up, so you had these new immigrants amongst Americans who was going through discrimination and prejudice, and they was resettling in another part of the country. And they were bringing in these people. And these people weren't rich. They were living in poverty themselves. And they were already criminals anyway. So they came up with their mafias and stuff. And it started to attack black people. And this was going on simultaneously while the government was systematically trying to uplift the immigrant and disenfranchise black people. Black Americans, to be precise. Because there was also immigrants, Caribbean immigrants, that were also coming to this country as well. And they also was faced with prejudice too. Their mission was different from the white immigrants' mission. The white immigrants' mission was to ultimately displace as another line of defense for the white people. The Caribbeans that was brought here to mislead and confuse us on who is who. So, at any case, there were poor whites, poor immigrants, poor blacks. The poor whites created mafias, gangs, criminal thug organizations. You gotta go back to the slums. See, while the immigrants was getting this and getting that, they was cutting us out of everything. So we had to develop our own streams of revenue.
Harlem in the 1920s.
Welcome to the numbers racket. Well, black people created a system of gambling to enfranchise the community and bring us one step out of poverty. Yes, the numbers racket, also known as numbers game or policy, was created, heavily popularized, and run by black communities in urban areas during the early 20th century. It originated in neighborhoods like Harlem, New York, around the 1920s, as a modified, more transparent version of older policies' betting games. The bet, players will wager small amounts, as little as a penny or a nickel, on a 3-digit number. The draw to prevent the game from being rigged. The winning digits were tied to a public unalterable daily figures. Black folks created the number system as a form of revenue to give employment to the community. Beautiful. The entrepreneurship of our people is just brilliant. Organizers use data like last 3 digits of the daily U.S. Treasury balance, Federal Reserve Bank clearings, or horse racing payouts. The payouts were typically 500 to 1 or 600 to 1 for a straight hit. Economic and community impact. Because mainstream white-owned banks frequently discriminated against black citizens, not the immigrants that was coming here on boats, of course, the numbers racket effectively served as an informal financial institution. Employment, it became one of the largest employers in black neighborhoods, hiring thousands of runners and controllers. Community funding, high-profile black bankers used their profits to bankroll legitimate community ventures. They funded local grocery stores, bars, real estate investment, newspapers, and even rights initiatives. Wow. We was a nation unto ourselves. We were getting the bag within our own community. Wonderful. We wasn't bothering nobody. Prominent figures, famous figures, including Stephanie St. Clair, the Queen of Numbers in Harlem, John Roxborough in Detroit, and the Jones Brothers in Chicago. Takeover by organized crime and the state. By the 1930s, white organizations, crime syndicates, such as the Italian Mafia and the Jewish mobsters like Dutch Schultz, reorganized how lucrative.
You do right goddamn thing in Harlem. Do you understand that now? Yes. It's a new day. Dutch Schultz rights policy.
Now
in Harlem.
The plot thickens. It was the Jewish mobster, the Jewish gangster that decided, I'm going to go head up with the blacks. And I'm going to destroy and take over their empire of running numbers. See, we have to understand the hate, discrimination, and jealousy that these immigrants had against black people and black success in black communities. See, because mainstream white-owned banks frequently discriminated against black citizens, right? The numbers racket effectively served as an informal financial institution. It became one of the largest employers in the black neighborhood, hiring thousands of runners and controllers. High-profile black bankers used their profits to bankroll legitimate community ventures. They funded local grocery stores, bars, real estate, investment, newspapers, and even civil rights initiatives. So now you see the wealth that was accumulating within the black community. And these foreigners and these immigrants, they saw that.
Folks, now here's a story about Minnie the Moocher. She was a red-hot hoochie coocher. She was the roughest, toughest rail, but Minnie had a heart as big as a hay whale. Howdy, 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 howdy.
Because of figures like, famous figures like Stephanie St. Clair, the Queen of Numbers in Harlem, John Roxborough in Detroit, and the Jones Brothers in Chicago, all had big number running schemes and games that was economically supporting black communities. And who came to destroy that? Takeover by organized crime and the state. Remember that the government and organized crime, organized mafiosos, the La Costa Nostra, the Italians and Sicilian gangs, were one because of their participation in helping to secure the ports during World War II. Now, by the 1930s, white organized crime syndicates, such as the Italian Mafia, the Jewish mobsters like Dutch Schultz, recognized how lucrative the game was. Through violent turf wars, they forcibly took control of most black-run operations. Decades later, we ain't even gonna get there yet. These mafias, this is what they did to us. This man right here, Dutch Schultz, Jewish American gangster of the 20s and 30s. This is the man. Him and all the organizations of immigrant crime syndicates, with the governments of America's help and the state, to financially, violently disenfranchise a people who have found a way to make money in a system that was cutting them out of their American dream. After they left from Jim Crow and the segregation, well, I'm not even the segregation, the injustice of Jim Crow and the discrimination of Jim Crow, running up to the north just to run into immigrant, foreign oppression right here in the homeland. These people who have come here from their countries started organizations to terrorize prominent black people, their cities, their towns, their entrepreneurship, everything. These people is put against us.
Nowhere is it worse than for blacks living in the Jim Crow South. Many live and work in tough, segregated conditions. As these rare recordings show, the work songs have changed little since the time of slavery. In South Carolina, they lay the tracks for America's railways. And in Port Norris, New Jersey, they shuck oysters for wealthy diners. Some African-American communities are prospering, like the residents of Greenwood, a suburb of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Here, former slaves were given land after the Civil War, and this rare footage shows the thriving town they built. A remarkable Baptist pastor named Solomon Sir Jones is the pioneering filmmaker. His footage was lost for more than 50 years. Jones captures the bustling life of Greenwood, which could be any American small town. But Tulsa's whites don't like what they see. In May 1921, after a black man is accused of assaulting a white woman, a white mob rampages through the city. For a night and a day, they loot and burn Greenwood. A Fox News crew captures the only surviving footage. It is the bloodiest racial massacre in American history, leaving nearly 300 dead. Behind the violence is a terrifying force, born in the 19th century, but until now, silent. The second wave of the Ku Klux Klan. News photographers capture a Klan march in Tulsa 1 year after the riots. The Klan appeals to white Americans who feel threatened by the fast pace of change in the 20s. Born in the South, the KKK spreads north. Its members promote what they call 100% Americanism, targeting not just blacks, but Catholics, Jews, immigrants. At the height of its power, newsreels capture 40,000 Klansmen and women massing in support of white supremacy on the streets of Washington, D.C. By 1924, its membership reaches a staggering 4 million. The KKK will remain a force of bigotry in this country for generations to come. Racial tensions in the South and bountiful jobs in the North prompt many African Americans to uproot their families. Nearly 1.6 million people choose to move in what becomes known as the Great Migration.
Why you think the government brought them here? It's called reinforcements. Who you think the government used to destroy each and every prominent town, village, city that we had? Going back to 1868, 1887, 1868, 1864, all the way up to 2015. Who you think was doing all this? It was the immigrants who was doing this to us. These are the same people that say we lazy and we don't want to work. And they came over here and they had nothing. And they started from nothing and they built everything they had. Bullshit, you burnt what we had so you can get a head start. La Costa Nostra. Our thing, huh? And this is what they did. These people went against our thing. Our thing. What we was doing. We created the numbers for us. We gambled. We put a penny down. We put 5 cents down. We made some money. We didn't make some money. We employed thousands of ourselves. Since everybody else was cutting us out, since the white man and the government and the state didn't want us to succeed, we found a way to be successful. And they started to attack that.
With that show, you messing with me. You don't. Right. Goddamn thing. And
Gangsters, immigrant, Jewish, Italian, Russian, Irish, gangsters all came against us so they can take over something that was so lucrative, that was so inventive and entrepreneurial. It was the greatest scheme that they never thought of. Numbers. biggest lucrative entrepreneurs of this gambling arena was a young woman named Stephanie St. Clair. The queen of the numbers. This is who they had to overtake in Harlem to take over the numbers game. This was their obstacle to their American dream. The queen. In her fight against Dutch Schultz that was trying to take over her organization. And that's what started the Black Mafia. This is what created the gangster within the black community. Because gangsters were coming after us to try to take over our businesses. The only thing we had to survive on. They were trying to take that by violence and force with the state backing them up. So we had to get gangster to protect what was ours.
There's no color allowed in here. It's a new day, motherfucker.
Released in 1997, this underrated film...
He's the guy who got Duke to work the club. He's probably just here to collect his fee. Look, you're supposed to go to the back door to collect the fee. What the hell you think you're doing to me?
Disregard the fee. Only I came to talk to the Dutch.
All right. You struck a blow for the Negro cause. The first nigger to ever make it into the Cotton Club. Now get out!
They was trying to take what we had. And the Queen and Bumpy Johnson had to go to war with Dutch Schultz to protect their numbers. In the city, Harlem itself will never be the same.
Ellsworth Bumpy Johnson, a figure from the 1930s to the 60s, was a unique blend of intellect, force, and unexpected refinement who ruled Harlem's underworld. A chess-playing gangster with a Harlem Renaissance soul, Bumpy was a unique figure. He built his empire through drugs, extortion, and connections with the Italian Mafia, especially Lucky Luciano. But he wasn't just a criminal. He protected the neighborhood, paid rent for struggling families, and read poetry between meetings with killers.
We was just trying to survive in an environment that was systematically set up for us to deliberately fail. Now they going to war because we came up with the number system that was lucrative and profitable for our community, for the black community that was shut out of the economic success of what they called the American dream.
But when it came to Harlem, there was only one name that mattered: Bumpy Johnson. You might not be familiar with his name, yet he was one of the most influential gangsters in American underworld history. From 1930s to the 1960s, he was considered the godfather of Harlem, a neighborhood in northern Manhattan where he held absolute control. Want to run an illegal gambling operation? You had to go through Bumpy. Want to open a speakeasy? You had to go through Bumpy. Want to do anything illegal in Harlem? You had to go through Bumpy. Even Frank Lucas, the notorious drug trafficker played by Denzel Washington in American Gangster, was one of his right-hand men. He once said,
"If you wanted to do business in Harlem, you did it with Bumpy Johnson, or you were dead."
Whenever the police or politicians needed something, they turned to him. Even the MaFia had to go through Bumpy to conduct business in Harlem. No other African-American gangster of that era had ever achieved such power and influence. At a time when racial discrimination was deeply ingrained, black men had to fight through obstacles just to claim a piece of the American dream, even in the criminal underworld. Bumpy Johnson was the exception to the rule. But before becoming the godfather of Harlem, he, like many others, started at the very bottom. Here.
It was war in Harlem. It was war. Straight out war. So what happened? Well, these white organized crime syndicates, the Italians, the Jews, Dutch Schultz, recognized how lucrative our number system was, and they decided, hey, you know what? We're going to take that over. We're going to kill them. We're going to imprison them. We're going to do whatever we can to take over that system. And that's what they did. That's what they did. Decades later, starting in the 60s and 70s, state government noticed the massive revenue generated by the game. They created legalized state-run lotteries like Pick 3 and Daily Numbers, directly modeled after the illegal Harlem number systems, effectively co-opting the original concept. Basically, they stole, once again, stealing from black folks, immigrants, the government, which is immigrants, went orchestrated violence on our turf wars, to forcibly control the most black-run operation of the numbers, organized crime, and the state. Eventually, Dutch Schultz was murdered. He was killed. The notorious mobster Dutch Schultz, born Arthur Fleckenheimer, was fatally shot on October 23, 1935, inside the Palace Chop House at 12th East Park Street in my city, Newark, New Jersey. He died the following day at Newark's Martlin's Hospital, which no longer exists. Schultz and 3 of his associates were gunned down in the back room and the restroom of the Chop House. Sayonara. It was over. He gone. They done took the picket game. They done destroyed the financial hub of the black community. They took it, goddamn, their own lottery system modeled after the black numbers racket. And look at the symbol. Well, whose symbol was that? Isn't that the Irish symbol, right? The 4-leaf clover? Yeah, okay. So it was the Irish that came. Okay, so we get who they gave the lottery to. Yeah, because the Irish control the police, right? That's why every time a police die, no matter if he's black, white, Puerto Rican, they always have the bagpipes and they walking with the kilts on. Fast forward, we got the 60s, segregation, discrimination. They sicking dogs on us. We fighting for civil rights because they giving everything to the immigrants. Anything we try to do, they taking it from us. They going to war with us. They killing us. Like, we ain't have a fighting goddamn chance out here, bro. Like, what the fuck? We was fighting in whatever. Like, come on. Treat us like citizens, damn it. That's all we wanted was a little fucking cornbread. You motherfuckers. That's all I wanted was a little fucking cornbread. They won't even let us get our bread. We gotta fight. While you giving the immigrants and whoever come over here everything. They even attacking us and taking what we doing. It was just a constant attack.
Nonviolence is a very non-functional approach in a society that's based entirely on organized force and violence. A country that was created in violence, land was taken in violence, society that's perpetuating itself through violence.
not to be non-violent, but to fight back. I mean, we getting our ass kicked on all sides. We had to fight back. We couldn't be docile about this. People just coming here yesterday, taking over our shit, burning our cities, locking us up. The whole state, the whole country is against us. We had to get gangster. We was going through riots. This is the North riots, the 1960s. And the projects, which they all knocked them down now. But this is the riots, race riots, in 68, 67, 68. They done killed Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Medgar Evers, and everybody else. Like, how was we supposed to be marching and protesting for better housing, for job opportunities, for just treat us like human beings, man. Like, it just got frustrating.
As you know, we have initiated a free breakfast for school children. The reason behind this is because we understand that our children go hungry. Because we understand that the pigs won't get up off their ass and give us no food. Because we understand that there's oppressors. The Black Panther Party says that we're going to serve these children. We're going to feed them every morning. They get a full meal, grits, bacon, toast, eggs, everything they need for the whole day. We need the people's support. We need your action. We need your money. We need your donations. We need your time. The breakfast program is a program for the people and by the people.
Black Panther Party was destroyed by sellouts, Coattail Pro, J. Edgar Hoover, and his CIA, FBI, and all whatever he created to dismantle the political party of black people. What was we supposed to do to protect ourselves? Was we not supposed to start acting gangster?
They pumped in the dope to neutralize the black community and destroy the Panther power base. But drugs overflowed the borders of the ghetto and ended up on all America's doorstep. Despite ongoing persecution by the authorities, the Panthers continued to provide breakfast programs, sickle cell anemia testing, and even schools for the community. Before they were eventually crushed, the Panthers had chapters in almost every state of the Union and several foreign countries. It came out later that Hoover and the FBI used illegal tactics to destroy the Panthers. Several Panthers are still being held in prison on trumped-up charges. Huey was killed in 1989 in a drug deal. Bobby lives in Pennsylvania. He teaches and lectures. In 1970, there were 300,000 addicts in the United States. Yesterday, there were 3 million. The way I see it, the struggle continues.
I mean, how much was we supposed to fucking take? Like, for real. How much was we supposed to take? You taking our land, you taking everything we done, you know? What was we supposed to do? We running around the country trying to find a better place to live. Like, what are we supposed to do? Mocking us at every turn? What was we supposed to do? How was we supposed to act or react?
Nonviolence is a very non-functional approach in a society that's based entirely on organized force and violence. A country that was created in violence, land was taken in violence,